Hey guys, what's up? It's Schla coming back to ya with another episode of Car Rides with Schla. And I cannot believe how fast today flew by. This week has been insane, honestly, in retrospect, because this weekend, I was not feeling good at all. I don't know if it was really captured. I think it was, though. I think it was. I think it was documented on here, but I basically at the start of this week I didn't even want to go to work anymore. I didn't even feel like getting up. I was really in a weird kind of state or condition, you know? Something I'm not used to feeling really at all. Sorry, I'm just surprised because my car is being very silly right now, so yeah, of course. It's I don't know. But yeah, that's the truth. The truth is this week started off so rough. And now it's had such a strong finish, but I guess that's is just the center of the week. But I don't know. I don't know why or how that really happened. It's a strange thing to consider, really. I'm just not sure how you go from just in a couple days finding that much hope, I guess. That's the right word for it. It's weird. Because if I remember correctly, I probably don't remember as correctly as the show, but if I remember correctly, I was starting off by saying stuff like I'm at my wit's end and all this stuff, and now I kind of feel fine. Maybe there's something freeing in that, in kind of getting to the point where I don't really care if I'm fired or not anymore. Maybe that's what it is. I'm not really sure. But it's kind of how I feel, I feel like it just doesn't really matter anymore. Does that make sense? I don't know. There's sort of a little bit of a liberation with that. And I guess the freedom of that, it gives some joy. Of course, it would be tragic if I did lose my job. I probably shouldn't, I should make that clear. It wouldn't be a good situation. But I guess I'm mentally more okay with it now. Whereas this whole time, it's been something that I've needed. And I still need it because I don't have that much money, but once you get some amount of money saved up, it's better then. Of course, I still don't have enough money. I wouldn't be okay, but it's so much better than say a year ago, when a year ago I was really not comfortable at all. Now at least it's not going to be the end of the world. A year ago it would have been the end of the world if I lost my job. So I guess it's a change in material security, but also in, I guess, mental understanding and accomplishment too, because I've obviously been recording these episodes for a while now. Not only the car rides with Schla, but I even just started with the walks with Schla. And even though I just started with the walks with Schla, it's really felt like I've been doing it for so long already. Isn't that interesting to think about? There's something about the series that just it's just making so much sense to me and bringing me a lot of joy as well. I think that's so interesting to consider and to think about and all that, you know? It really is. It's really something. And so that's really where I'm at, I guess. You know, it's interesting. Sorry, I'm losing a bit of coherence. It's definitely different walking than driving. It's a shame because being outside, the quality is probably lower than being in the car, but the show, it just can't be done justice. The thing I wanted to talk about, I'm not sure if we'll get to it or not, is that this whole like recent awareness that I've gained about, I think I may have directly, I can't really remember when I talked about it. It could have been in a walk switch law. It could have been in a ride switch law. I'm not really sure. I'm not really sure where it was, but one of my talks, I think recently, I just went over it, but it's this, you know, this idea that I had spent my whole life for the past 5 years-ish, well, minus a year, because, you know, the past year has been kind of the transition to this point, thinking that my loneliness was going to be completed through another person. And I still think maybe my conclusion is partially coping, but I actually don't really think that's entirely the case. At the same time, I think there is genuine truth to it that the way I socialize, it's just more suited for a microphone. Like it basically checks every single box except for the fact that a person is living, which is why I think live streaming is going to be my future at some point. It's just a matter of getting there, you know? And so I guess that's what would happen if I quit my job. I would just start live streaming with all my free time, because I don't really know what else I would do with myself. I think it would just be a lot of live streaming. But for the time being while I'm working, I do want to have a backlog, not only just to chronicle my, I guess, progression of thoughts, which is kind of difficult to chronicle because I kind of go all over the place, but also just to have like a really large back catalog of voice, of me talking about a plethora of different things. That's kind of the goal, and I'm getting this done while working, you know, and then, like I said, hopefully someday I end up with the freedom to live stream. And then that would really be a better situation. But we'll have to see. We'll have to see how things turn out, you know. But that's how I feel. I mean, I've basically for the past 5 years been wanting something that's completely impossible. I didn't realize the whole time that I'm probably just meant for what's coming. It's very good for me, you know. But we'll have to see, right? It's time will tell. But it's just that and you know, the other thing is the difference in the nature of humans and how different, you know, most humans, like, they want something, they want to get it, abuse it, and then trash it. and get rid of it and go on to the next thing. That's how most humans are. And that's, there's a very distinct difference between me and other people in that regard, because I obviously, I can't do that. I don't just bounce around from wanting different things and trash what I don't want. I mean, the things I want, I care about deeply, and it affects me deeply, loss. But so many people, it's just so casual. Oh, I want to get this, I want to try this new food. And then they eat it, try it, entertained by it for a few seconds, then move on. Find something else to distract themselves with. It's just moment to moment for people. They don't even really think about what gives them joy. And I guess to me, it's very frustrating and hard to believe, ultimately. And that's where I fall is, I cherish moments. I remember people. I remember what they said. I remember how it made me feel. I remember how they felt. If they, attempt to communicate about things, a lot of times, in my experience, people don't. They're not very good at communicating how they feel or being vulnerable, so that's a whole other thing that occurs, issue with connections with others. But it's this idea that I was romanticizing the past and thinking that would be better for me when it wouldn't. It's possible I would have felt better, but in terms of having a paradigm shifting thought, it's possible none of it would have occurred. My life would be joyous, it would be amazing, but I'd probably just be a regular person. And that's it. And that would have been the end of the story. Probably would be relatively successful. Would have been pretty smooth sailing. And then that would have been it. There wouldn't have been the amount of mental turmoil I've been put through. It's been so immense. And for what? Well, I guess it's to craft a different character. If I had been born in the 70s like I wanted to be, that crafting wouldn't have occurred. I'd take the 80s too, by the way. And like I was just saying earlier, a part of me is upset because more of my life isn't tracked. I'm truly a part of a transitional phase, and it's a special year. Like I said, there's a precision to my birth, but I always try to optimize. I always try to think, well, what if I was born a year earlier, a year later? I always want to try to optimize and perfect, but I guess there could be just an innate perfection in my life experiences and in my birth. Of course, maybe there isn't. Maybe there's nothing special at all, but is there a flaw in thinking as such? It feels good. I think it's important. Not that I think I'm the main character, because I honestly don't. But just to feel that a life is special. And I still think I do have some noticeably special things to offer. It's not, I'm not just saying this as somebody who has nothing to show for it. I do. I think I do. But, like I said, I don't necessarily want to entertain that. I've talked about that before, because when you are too positive about yourself, you risk running into what I think it ends up being No, like you have to keep pushing. Like if you tell yourself you're good enough, then well, okay, then what? You know what I mean? So I'm skeptical to say that, but I do think it's accurate. I do think the things I'm doing is pretty spectacular. I didn't think I'd be able to do it. You know, a while ago I wanted to do the walks with Schla, but then I never really ended up doing it. But now I'm doing it. It's just with a low quality microphone, and I'm realizing, you know, in the short term I probably should just be using the car mic. I probably should have been doing that. It's kind of stupid that I didn't, but I didn't really think it. I did not really consider it for some reason. I've just been using the built-in phone mic, but temporarily, even though I don't like the car rides with Schla mic as much, I could have just been using it this whole time. It's pretty silly that I didn't, but it is what it is. I just think in some ways my life, it's beginning to unlock. It's beginning to unlock a little bit. You know, at the same time, society is flailing and confused and chaotic. I actually feel like things have been making a lot of sense for me, at least recently. You know, I have had a good amount of turmoil you can retroactively observe with these episodes, but in terms of my recent mood, it's been good. Things have been, I don't know, these past couple days, it's crazy. The journey of me being sick was sort of exciting, and then now that that's over, wow, I feel great. But again, it goes to show you my baseline is probably really high, because I think most people wouldn't have been able to muscle through the fever. You know, that just wouldn't have. It wouldn't happen for most people. I'm sure of it. I'm very much sure of it, so. Anyways. What is left? Anything? I just can't get over that. I mean, how different would my life have looked? So many things I've talked about in all my conversations would just be completely different. You know, I think in some ways it would be better. There probably would be less rage built up inside of me, but I probably would have lived a happier life, but it just would have looked totally different. Like, I kind of think I had to get to this point. Like, everything until now was very important. Like, the dominoes had to be placed, and they had to fall when they did. Like, just to get to this point. But we're really, I mean, they're on the cusp of something, some kind of greater understanding. I'm just going on record saying it. Now, I could reject it. Like, in a couple days, I could say, yeah, I don't know what he was talking about. I'm not on the cusp of anything. But you know what? I want to say that's genuinely what it feels like. Because the story that is told as a result of how I've been mistreated, it would be totally different. Everything would be so different right now about my thoughts, and just instead of spending time doing that, what I spent time doing instead. I mean, so complicated. So complicatedly different. You know, and so there was probably fruit to what I experienced. I think there was fruit to it. But I probably would be a happier person. That is the advantage. If I hadn't had socialized in the way I did, I'd probably be a happier person. I'm pretty sure of that. But I don't know. I mean, I could just be a totally different person. It's insane. Absolutely insane. So I reflect on that, because the timeline I'm on, it's something. But I know there's better ones. I kind of wish I was on the better one, but hey, maybe there's something to this one. I hope so. But yeah, I guess that's why I feel different, because I just think enough has culminated to this point that it's okay now. Things are getting better. Things are better. I'm trying not to think about the wider societal worries. For some reason, I've luckily those anxieties have been tame. But yeah, I guess I am just trying to live a little more for the present, which is difficult. I always said I'm either thinking about the past or the future. I'm never just thinking in between. Just don't do that. But now I sort of am, Now it's yeah, I'm sort of thinking about I sort of am thinking about that. The present. Now, I don't know what I did to really reach this conclusion. I just think I've had so much of a talking outlet, and it's very consistent. Always like how I've wanted. Except it's not another person, it's myself. It's my own microphone. And the quality of the conversation is almost better. I feel like the wording may be less impressive. For whatever reason, I tend to get the impression that my conversation with others, I tend to word things better. Like when I'm on my own, there's more pausing. I feel like I don't have as much pow going on. But hopefully that will not be the case forever. And maybe that's a perceptive issue as well. But it is easier to talk to another person than to talk alone. It's definitely easier. But it's something I really want to cultivate, and I already have. I've cultivated it, but it has to grow. It really has to grow. That's kind of the main thing that has to be done. It has to grow. So but I just can't get over. Yeah, I think it has been just that therapeutic to talk to myself, but to do it in a very clear way. Because before now, I would sometimes talk to myself, but it wasn't recorded. And then, it was random, and then I'd put music back on, right? It's not, I don't know, it would, what, you know what I'm saying? I would have moments like this. I would, and it's lost. It's sad that it's lost. I just didn't, I didn't think of it sooner for whatever reason. but I would listen to music. Sometimes I wouldn't. Sometimes it would just be quiet in the car. And then, for maybe a few minutes at a time, I'd have these monologues. And they'd usually be pretty concise. I mean, if I just had a recording thing always ready and even just clipped those, wow, I would wish to have that. But I don't. It's gone. So I think there's a difference. There's a difference to actually having it recorded as opposed to just talking to yourself without recording it. I think there's a pretty huge difference just in terms of satisfaction and archival kind of stuff. And then especially when you get into this transcription thing that I'm using now, that's even better because I'm getting clear text transcription. Of course, YouTube does its auto transcription, but in terms of wow, this person's really on my heels for no reason. It does the auto transcription, but it's kind of extra effort. I usually get that to create the title and description and stuff. But it's I don't know. You know what I mean? It's just different to have the transcription on hand is way better than having to go into the YouTube thing to grab it. It's a lot more organized to just have the monologues. And like I said, someday soon it's going to be very organized where I could start using GPT while recording and potentially accomplishing certain things. Like if I have a certain question about something, we're going to get into that setup soon, I hope. Hasn't really come up though. It's kind of changed my brain a little bit because again, my breaks I had been using as transcription questions for GPT, and then now it's a different mode. I don't think of GPT anymore, and I'm not thinking of a question to ask. It's kind of more like the car rides with Schla mode, where most of the time, I think also a lot of these have been somewhat reflective, and there hasn't really, I don't know. I haven't thought of a way to incorporate GPT, and of course, it's gonna get kind of dicey to figure it out. It is, because you're dealing with all this stuff and juggling it all while driving. It's not gonna be perfect, but I know there's definitely times I think it would add to the conversation, especially if there's a specific detail or something that I could get added to, right? I mean, I don't know. A specific thing that I'm not really certain about or something. Definitely something to consider or think about. But it's a shame I don't have those other recordings. It really is. But that's it's almost like a repeating message in my life. There's this, it's oh, well, I wish I would have done this sooner. All the time. I've always felt that way. I know a lot of people think like that, but I'm trying to explain it. It's a very persistent theme with my life that there's things I think of or want to do, and they're always very historical or time dependent, very, very historical or time dependent, to a severe degree. And it could just be difference in my, just the things I'm interested in, how a lot of the things I care about and value tend to be very time oriented and like take time to accomplish. So then I always end up thinking, oh, I wish I'd started that sooner. But I don't know. I think there's also like a genuine pattern to be had there where there's always just been like things are a little bit off. And it's kind of frustrating for me, but I'm wondering, or I'm thinking that it's probably meant to be that way. I don't know. It's just what it seems like. That's like the gist I get of it all. But then I always end up finding myself or finding my way or whatever. But it's like too late, or it feels like it's too late. But it might not be. Like in this case, I obviously wish I had even more of a catalog, but I guess what I should really be thinking about is just happy that I finally have something down. It's something to show for myself. I'm not really satisfied with how most of the episodes turned out, but at least I have this series now. It's something. There's something to be said about that. I don't know. But yeah, I'm very happy that the past 2 days have been as nice as they have been. It's been a good thing. It's been a nice change, because honestly, I think it's been a long time since I've just genuinely had like a good day. I know that sounds kind of weird, or that doesn't really make a lot of sense, but yeah, it's weird. Like it's really been kind of a while, but life, it feels like it's flowing now, if that makes sense. Things are just very... The only sad part is I don't feel like I'm coming up with many profound things. Like I want to come up with something to say that's really impressive, but I guess I did recently. There were a couple things I was pretty satisfied with, so maybe I shouldn't be thinking like that. I don't know. But yeah, the rest of the week should be pretty good. Should be. We're through the worst of it, so looking forward to it. But yeah, I don't know. I'm running dry. It's weird because it hasn't even been that long, but I just don't feel like talking anymore. That's the problem with all this calmness, is it kind of subdues me a little bit. It subdues me. I mean, it's interesting to think about trying to be more positive. It becomes a lot more difficult to frame things or to converse about things because there's inherently more negative things to talk about than positive. So it takes a bit of calculation and sifting to get through that. So I was just concentrating on driving. My fault. Yeah, I'm happy I'm almost home. I don't know why I'm getting hit with a dry spell. I'm not feeling tired though. That's actually interesting, yeah. Because yesterday I felt so tired. But today, wow, yeah, I feel like good. That is kind of weird. Hmm. That's something to take note of because, yeah, I think when I was here yesterday coming home, I was feeling really tired. So, yeah, interesting to take note of, I guess. Yeah, I also have had a bit of a subdued desire for the buying stuff. I don't know. That's kind of been lifted as why is all this stuff happening? Like I didn't do anything. I mean, I still want to, but like as of now I'm just kind of like not really like I don't know. A lot of the desire is gone. It's like so weird. Is it really are we like But what isn't weird is that it's been schla and now it's time to buy schla. So, see you schla.